Hello everybody, it is I, your chunky funky Grubo monkey, your Jana with no planner, your friendly neighbourhood docker, and today I'm doing something rather strange. You're probably wondering, why am I looking at this out of focus wall with a small Ashen's figurine in the top left corner? Well, that's because I thought I'd do something a little bit different this time, mainly because I couldn't be bothered to wash my hair. Today we are going to be talking about a nice little bit of nostalgia from my childhood. Now, some people may or may not know, I was heavily into playing cards when I was a kid. It was the 90s, we didn't really have the internet. And one of the things that kind of kick-started my love for playing cards was the famous Monarchs of England card game. Now, for those who do not know, this is part of the Heritage series. I came across them, well, just this card set. They've done loads over the decades, but this is the one that they're most well known for, and I must have got this around sometime between 93 and 95, but this set originates from 1991, and this is the 1993 re-release. And on the back here it says, "Meet all the kings and queens of England from Alfred the Great to Elizabeth II in this beautifully illustrated card game. The cards show the men and women who have ruled this land and whose influence has touched people all over the world. Easy to learn, fun to play. This game brings to life over 1,000 years of English royal history." Now, you're probably wondering what makes them so different to normal regular playing cards, and that's because it's technically a card game. This isn't my original set. I found this on eBay quite affordably, and it's still in its brand new packaging. And yeah, the whole idea of this card game just popped into my head over the last week due to the news of Queen Elizabeth's passing. Something that I will not delve into in my thoughts of. But I mean, this nice little bit of nostalgia here is kind of worth it, I guess. Right, now let's see if I can attempt to get into this while looking through the lens. I mean, I know that there's like a strip in the middle there, but I've got to try and find the beginning of it. Ah, there it is. Ha 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 ha. Now, one thing that I really loved about this set of cards back when I was a kid, I think around that time I was in years 3 and 4, and we were being taught about kind of ancient history in regards to, you're talking about the Celts, the Romans, the Saxons, the Vikings, etc, etc. So finding stuff like this was really my jam, and I loved the artwork that came with each card. So it's going to be nice to see them again. Oh, even the cards are somewhat taped together. I love this kind of royal blue and yellow, 2 crowns, 2 swords, rampant on a field of light royal blue, I want to say. I'd probably be wrong. And oh look, it's Alfred the Great, everybody. Now, if you look at this set online, sorry, I'm still trying to get into these. If you look at this set online, you'll find there have been a number of reissues. There's even a bigger set where it comes with a pencil and a notepad. But before getting into the different monarchs, let's have a little gandery-goosey. Bloody hell. At all this. We have, here we go, look at this. We have, if I can show you guys, we have the rulers of England and the dates of their reign, and that's over 2 cards. So, nice little bit of info there, but you do also get that information featured on each card. And then you have a list of the monarchs of England by name and number order. So there's that. And then we have examples of winning hands, but of course that's only handy if you know the rules. Now then, little fun fact here about my childhood. I never actually learned to play this game properly. Me and my brother, we used to just play it like poker. Or, see, upon just kind of somewhat perusing this, I've realised that basically it is poker, really. Players must form sets of monarchs. They may form 2 sets, one of 3 hands and one of 4 hands / cards, or one set of 7. The set may be in date order, i.e. monarchs in the consecutive order or of their reign, or name and number order. So yeah, this is basically like a simplified poker kind of game. So yeah, that's why you come with these little bits of information here. So these are all the ones that would be counted in said number order. And I would like to say, I used to kick ass at this game. So anyway, enough with the rules, which are kind of quite simple because of course they'd want kids to play them. It says here on the box that it's ages 7 to adult. Ooh. But here you get to see in all their glory. Each card comes with the number that they are, the years they reigned, and their little name in a nice little orange box at the bottom. Now over the years, each reissue has come with, I don't know, like a few changes. Like I think you have different versions of where the font on the left here is in black and is just black. But it doesn't really matter. It's all the same game anyway, but I wanted the 93 version because nostalgia. So we have Alfred the Great, Edward the Elder, who was one of my personal favourites, weirdly enough. I think it was because he was in that kind of battle formation, though you can't really see his face very well. Okay, as a kid I probably knew how to pronounce his name, because I was into that kind of thing, but no, he was probably a Saxon. I know about some of these, like Edmund I, I know of him, and Eldred, we're getting into kind of more the Viking era, Edwy, Edgar, but I mean just the artwork is just absolutely beautiful. Ethelred the Unready. And of course some of these have interesting stories about them. I don't know much about some of these, but this guy, I know a little bit about this guy. This guy is quite famous. He is King Canute, and he reigned from 1016 to 1035, and this guy rather famously thought that being king meant that he had humongous power, including the idea that he could hold back the sea, which is why he's wading in water, because obviously it kind of didn't work. So yeah, just imagine that that's the one thing, you've reigned a whole country and that's the one thing you're remembered for. I'd feel a bit miffed, if I'm honest. So yeah, we got Start of the Harolds, another one where I mean I couldn't even begin to try and pronounce the name. Edward the Confessor, of course, Harold II. See, we're getting through. It takes a while. It takes to the 16th monarch to get to William the Conqueror. So there's obviously quite a... They're being quite thorough in their history, especially in the kind of early, the 10s and 11s. Here we go, William II, or William Rufus as he's known. I mean, look at that ginger mop he's got there, absolutely lovely. Henry I, oh, he doesn't look very happy. He looks like Ambrose off of Keeping Up Appearances a little bit. Blimey. Stephen, good old Mr. Stephen. Henry II, who seemed to be very confident there. Richard I, otherwise known as Richard the Lionheart, with his 3 lions there and all that kind of thing, who wasn't really in England that much. And of course his brother John, who created the what he's holding there. I think, what's it bloody called? Editor Dokka, please put in there what that actual thing is called. I want to say the Doomsday Scroll, but I could be wrong. So please, Editor Dokka, let me know in post. Thank you. Henry III, oh, he seems quite studious. Edward I, one of many. Edward II. Oh, bugger. Edward III. So he looks quite, he seems to know what's going on there. But of course all of these kind of taught me kind of roughly, you know, the monarchy, and it led me to kind of look up some of these in, you know, the libraries afterwards, so I got really into it. Henry IV, who also happens to be on the cover, so he must have done quite well for himself. Henry V, the one with the rather famous haircut. Henry VI. Edward IV. Haha, crikey, we're already up to the 30s. Edward V. It's quite startling how young some of these lads were. It just kind of goes to show that some of them didn't really last long. Richard III, who was rather famously portrayed in Blackadder's first series by Peter Cook. A horse, my kingdom for a horse. And there we go, Henry VII, otherwise known as Henry Tudor, who did quite well for himself. Ah, yes, here's the man himself, Henry VIII. Yes. Well, everybody knows about Henry VIII, don't they? Edward VI. Now, when you get to this kind of stage, some of the lesser-known monarchs are only reigned for a couple of weeks. They're kind of lost in the shuffle, excuse the pun. So yeah, we when it comes to the Tudors, I mean, you've got Mary Tudor here, who, as you can see, didn't reign for incredibly long, but it was only until Elizabeth I could be crowned. And then we have James I. Now, interesting thing, James I of England is technically James IV of Scotland, and would you believe it, there's also a Monarchs of Scotland set as well. Something that I, after discovering today, I realised I just really want to get. Just because I know next to nothing about the Monarchs of Scotland, and I think it would be incredibly interesting to find out about it. Plus I would like to see if they use a different image for King James IV in their set. It would be quite interesting to see. Charles I, oh, that didn't end well for him. Then we have the very controversial Oliver Cromwell. Now, Oliver Cromwell, would you believe that when he was executed, his head was put on display and apparently might still be around? I'm going to have to look that up. But he rather famously was quite an unattractive man, and when posing for his painting he famously said, whether or not it is true, I want you to paint me warts and all. So yes, then we have Charles II, absolute playboy, absolutely legend. He's the kind of king who, well, put it this way, he was good friends with the well-known pirate Colonel Blood. So yeah, he was quite the charmer, quite the ladies' man, Charles II. Then we've got James II. Now then, William and Mary. The fun thing about William and Mary, believe it or not, is that technically it was William's throne, but he gave equal standing to his wife because he loved her so much. That's the story anyway. I might be a little bit out of sorts. Then we have Queen Anne, who I think was portrayed by Jenna Coleman. I haven't seen the film, but apparently it's amazing. So, yep. Then we've got the first of the Georges, and the Georgian era. George II there. George III, Mad King George, who slowly went insane due to, was it the pox? I don't know. And then of course you have George IV, who is, that is not represented very well. George IV was actually the Prince Regent, and when he took over from his father, he got incredibly fat and just completely ruined his family name, because he was just such an idiot. but they never really portrayed his look accurately in paintings, so we can't really say for sure exactly what he looked like size-wise. But I look at that and I'm like, that's not George IV. That's just some random dude in a top hat. So I don't know where that idea came from. And you've got William IV. See, now we're getting into ones that, even though are still quite recent, I still know very little about. And we've got Victoria, Queen Victoria, a young Queen Victoria as well. So you don't usually see pictures of her like that. It's usually an older Queen Victoria in mourning, etc., etc. Edward VII. Oh, I do love a coat like that, a great coat like that. Oh, lovely. George V, who, I'm trying to remember. See, now it's still before my time. You see, I can't. Edward VIII. Now, Edward VIII was the one who abdicated. I think. No, was that George VI? See, this is the problem, right? I also used to be really into dinosaurs as well as a kid, and I used to know the name of loads of different dinosaurs. I used to know a lot about the monarchs as well. But then I turned 13 and I discovered girls and other things, and that kind of went out the window, so my brain's a little bit frazzled. Now, here we go. Here's the important thing. When I got this set, originally, and it's just like it was before, Queen Elizabeth II came with a start date but not an end date. Now, was this so we could include the end date ourselves? Well, I'll let you be the judge of that, because there was also an extra card for Charles, Prince of Wales, which I often found quite baffling. Now, I haven't looked at the rules, but I'm sure he would count as one of the Charleses, so you could, have a set of 3. But yeah, it kind of begs the question, were we to add the end and start dates ourselves for when this happened? Because, I mean, remember, this was 1991 that these were originally made. Or was it just a nice little bit of fancifulness? I'm not sure, but they've managed to capture Charles in a very cavalier and quite young side of him after he's played some polo. So I'm now wondering, because as I've said before, these cards have been reissued a few times since we've had a new king now, King Charles III, on the throne for roughly a week or so now. Does this mean that Heritage will reissue this card set with an updated card? Because if so, I'd be very interested to see it. Now, you'd think this is a company that are no longer about. Well, you would be wrong, because believe it or not, upon doing a little bit of internet web searching and whatnot, I discovered they actually still have a website. One of the reissues of this card set, I actually found the website on the back of, because it was a reissue, I think in 2007. The website still looks quite old, but it's still there. And would you believe they've done more than just monarchs of different countries? They also do card sets on animals and transport and technology and gemstones and all sorts of stuff. And they even do it in different languages. So, if you'd like to check these cards out for yourself and possibly purchase some as a little bit of fun or nostalgia, or even if you're one of those people who like history, especially royal history, then I strongly recommend you check this set out. Now, I don't know, let me just check this here, if it actually says who did the illustrations, because if not, that's actually pretty poor play for them. If you enjoy playing this card game and would like information on how to obtain further copies or details from our full product range. Oh, well, that's interesting. That this is supposed to be the old set, and yet there is still a web address at the bottom. That's very strange. Because this is obviously an old set that started out in 1991. Huh. Discover something new every day, because it's not listed on the box. Ah. So obviously things haven't changed that much. So, no mention on who did the illustrations, but if I do find out, I will put them in the doobly what's it below. But anyway, folks, if you've liked this video and you like this kind of style of thing, of me talking about some of the stuff that I used to do when I was a kid and going through all the nostalgia stuff with it, please let me know below. Sorry about the noises, I live in a shared house, so you're bound to hear doors opening and closing from time to time, and I shall leave it at that. Anyway, folks, I'm going to go and try and tidy all this up, and I'll see you on the next video. And before I go, do not forget something. Do not forget, I suck at outros. Alright.